In this story, a shadowy terrorist organization emerges from the depths of global chaos, seizing control of the Dalnesian embassy and trapping innocent workers inside its walls. Their chilling ultimatum echoes through government channels: release their imprisoned comrades and deliver 100 million in cold cash, or watch the hostages die one by one. Desperate for a resolution, the government deploys their finest local special forces, elite soldiers trained for precisely this nightmare scenario. Yet within minutes, the terrorists prove themselves to be far deadlier than anyone anticipated. They slaughter the special forces operatives effortlessly, cutting them down like helpless insects beneath their boots. Not satisfied with mere bloodshed, they plant a deadly network of mines encircling the entire building perimeter. The fortress becomes utterly impenetrable. Not even a phantom could slip through their defenses undetected. Or could one? Whispers speak of a secret operative known only as the Geist, a name that translates to ghost in the old tongue. This phantom operative carries a flawless record, never once failing a mission, though the terrorists dismiss such tales as nothing more than urban legend designed to frighten children. Without warning, a shadow materializes inside their supposedly secure compound, moving like smoke through their defenses. Within moments, 5 entire squads of heavily armed terrorists fall to the ground, their lives stolen by nothing more than a single blade flashing through the darkness. Bullets fly in desperate volleys, yet somehow every shot misses its mark. The phantom moves as if he can see the future itself. One man watches from the shadows, confessing his twisted admiration. Witnessing this deadly performance never grows old, no matter how many times he's seen it unfold. The man approaches Geist with reverence, declaring himself a devoted fan of the living legend. The soldier capable of annihilating 10,000 enemies single-handedly without breaking a sweat. But Geist's voice cuts through the flattery like ice, warning the man not to mistake killing Geist the ghost for an easy task. Then the man's tone shifts, casually mentioning that he rescued the child Geist had discovered earlier. That single revelation ignites something primal within Geist. Rage floods his veins like liquid fire. The man observes with disappointment how anticlimactic the death of this legendary warrior will be. Time fractures. Geist awakens, surrounded by impenetrable darkness, his mind struggling to grasp where reality has taken him now. Memory crashes back with brutal clarity. That man shot him point blank in the skull, yet consciousness persists. How? The rage still burns in his chest like a living coal, refusing to let this be his final chapter. Self-recrimination follows swiftly, pathetic, letting his guard crumble because of that insignificant fool. Allowing emotions to control him represents the ultimate failure for a true professional. Sensations flood back, his legs pumping, running endlessly while a voice screams repeatedly for him to stop running. Why won't the noise cease? Sharp pain explodes at the base of his skull without warning. Footsteps approach through the chaos. Geist's training kicks in automatically, calculating the stranger's height and body structure from the sound pattern alone. His eyes snap open to reveal an impossible sight. A mountain of muscle towers above him, wielding a crude wooden club aimed directly at his face. Instinct takes over. Geist rolls aside with a fraction of a second to spare before the weapon crashes down where his head had been. Frustration contorts the giant's features. He'd been certain his previous blow had knocked his opponent unconscious for good. Confusion grips Geist's mind like a vice. Who is this brutish attacker? The muscular assailant charges forward again like an enraged bull, leaving Geist no choice but to defend himself, despite having absolutely no understanding of what's happening or why he's under attack. As the brute closes distance, Geist drives his fist straight into the man's jaw with precision. The giant absorbs the impact, seizes Geist's body with crushing strength, and slams him headfirst into the muddy ground with devastating force. This belief floods through Geist. How could his strike produce zero effect? The connection was perfect, the technique flawless. More disturbing questions surface, whose unfamiliar face now belongs to him. Behind him, the bully recovers and charges again, brandishing his wooden stake like a medieval executioner's blade, ready to impale his prey. The giant attempts to pin Geist beneath his weight, but in a blink, his target simply vanishes from underneath him like morning mist. Who is left, Geist observes calmly from a safe distance. The muscular attacker lunges with another wild punch, but Geist's body flows around the strike like water. A horizontal swing of the wooden stake follows. Again, Geist evades with minimal movement. Understanding dawns, the brute's attack patterns are embarrassingly simple and predictable, making dodging almost effortless. The real problem? This unfamiliar body refuses to obey his commands with the speed and precision his mind demands. Strategy must evolve. Pure evasion won't secure victory in this weakened state. Geist scoops up muddy water from a nearby puddle and hurls it directly into his opponent's face, momentarily blinding him before scrambling up a nearby tree. Gasping for air after such minimal exertion, Geist realizes with dismay that this body's previous owner neglected physical conditioning entirely. First priority, understand the situation surrounding him. The memories replay like fragmented film, that man with the grating voice shooting him through the skull. And now he inhabits the flesh of some unknown young man whose identity remains a complete mystery. The uniform provides a crucial clue. High school, but which school, which city, which country even? Scanning his surroundings reveals a park nestled among office buildings, the landscape triggering vague recognition somewhere deep in his subconscious. He recalls seeing Japanese characters emblazoned across the blonde attacker's shirt earlier. Could this possibly be Japan? Two mysteries demand answers. Why has his consciousness been transplanted into this frail adolescent body, and what drove that blonde giant to hunt him so aggressively? Before long, the persistent brute locates his position among the branches and begins his clumsy ascent toward his prey. Upon reaching Geist's level, the massive teenager growls that escape is impossible this time. He swings his makeshift weapon in a vicious arc, but Geist's reflexes, even in this compromised body, prove superior. Leaping backward to an adjacent branch, he maintains distance from his determined pursuer. Exhaustion begins affecting the larger fighter, who demands to know why his opponent suddenly moves like an entirely different person. The cold rain continues soaking through his clothes while his injured right hand throbs with increasing intensity. This body's limitations are becoming dangerously apparent. Yet the giant's next words provide critical intelligence. He expresses disbelief that this weakling, who appears to have never thrown a punch in his life, would dare participate in a fight battle. What exactly does that mean? Context clicks into place, clearly some underground tournament where victory equals financial reward. The pieces are beginning to form a coherent picture. With growing confidence, Geist announces his intention to educate his opponent on something important. This declaration ignites the brute's temper. Geist continues, noting how excessively talkative his opponent has been, adding that both his voice and crude manner of speaking assault the ears most unpleasantly. A simple request: maintain silence during combat. The commentary pushes the giant past his breaking point. He launches himself through the air with murderous intent, screaming threats about ending Geist's life. But something shifts. Geist's eyes transform, radiating a lethal intensity that transcends this teenage body. For reasons he can't articulate, primal terror suddenly grips the charging brute's heart. His desperate swing cuts only empty air as Geist sidesteps with surgical precision. In a twist of fate, tangled vines snare the giant's ankle mid-leap, leaving him dangling upside down from the tree branch like a caught fish. Panic floods his voice as he demands an explanation. Geist explodes forward, driving his knee upward with calculated force, connecting squarely with his suspended opponent's face and painting the rain with crimson. Through waves of pain, the bleeding giant struggles to comprehend what just happened, questioning whether Geist somehow set a trap in mere seconds. Geist explains the obvious. Knowing the brute would climb made preparing this simple vine trap elementary. The challenging part was ensuring the target walked directly into it without suspicion. Realization crashes over the giant. Every insulting word was deliberate provocation, designed to cloud his judgment with rage. Moving with purpose, Geist retrieves the fallen wooden stake and positions its sharpened end against his captive's exposed throat, his voice cold as winter as he demands comprehensive answers about his own identity and the reasons behind this unprovoked assault. Genuine confusion crosses the giant's bloodied features. What kind of nonsense is he spouting? He reminds Geist that joining the fight battle meant accepting all consequences. Whole, Geist repeats his demand, explaining precisely what fight battle means. When silence stretches too long, Geist increases pressure with the stake, prepared to puncture flesh. Desperation breaks through as the giant suddenly shouts his surrender. Though Geist has no framework for understanding what that declaration signifies, a disembodied voice emanates from nearby, formally acknowledging the surrender. Geist traces the sound to a smartphone lying on the ground. Examining the device reveals their participants in something called the Susano O-rank battle, specifically a match pitting Kisuke Sakuraba against Yoshio Kudo. Apparently, this body he now inhabits belongs to someone named Kasuke, and according to the screen, he's just been declared victorious. The display shows something even more surreal. Their entire fight was broadcast live to an online audience. Turning to Yoshio, Geist inquires about the meaning of the scrolling comments from viewers. Yoshio's temper flares. He swats the phone violently from Geist's grip, interpreting the gesture as mockery and gloating. Yoshio mourns his lost prize money before demanding that Kisuke release him from his humiliating suspended position. One swift strike renders Yoshio unconscious. The continued complaining was simply too irritating to endure. Attempting to reactivate the smartphone proves futile. The device is thoroughly waterlogged and completely dead. Later, examining Kisuke's personal belongings brings the horrifying truth into sharp focus. His consciousness has somehow merged with another person's physical body. The student ID card confirms that Kisuke Sakuraba is only 17 years old. But who was this teenager before Geist's arrival? Despite countless unanswered questions swirling through his mind, he resolves to visit the address printed on Kisuke's student identification card, hoping to gather more intelligence about his current situation. His path takes him through the Izumi shopping district, and a strange nostalgia washes over him. Japan truly never changes, does it? A woman's terrified scream shatters the afternoon calm as a thief tears her purse from her grasp and bolts down the crowded street. The criminal sprints directly toward Geist, who finds himself thinking that Japan was supposed to be one of the world's safest nations until he fully comprehends his bizarre circumstances. Drawing unnecessary attention seems unwise, better to keep moving and avoid entanglements. As the thief rushes past, something instinctive takes control. Geist's hand shoots out, clamping around the criminal's arm like iron. The stolen purse tumbles from the thief's grip, clattering onto the pavement. While shock paralyzes the criminal, Geist pivots smoothly, using the man's own momentum to slam him face first into the unforgiving ground, and immediately transitions into a submission hold, twisting the thief's arm backward at an agonizing angle while pinning him firmly to the earth, completely immobilizing the would-be criminal. As combat instinct takes hold, that familiar lethal aura radiates from Geist's frame, an invisible pressure that makes the air itself feel dangerous. His eyes shift to an otherworldly shade of blue. A crowd forms rapidly around the scene, curious onlookers drawn by the commotion in the busy district. Manaka, the victim whose purse was stolen, pushes desperately through the gathering crowd of spectators. When the women finally break through, they freeze in absolute disbelief at the sight before them. Sweet, harmless Kisuke, Chinatsu's big brother, has the criminal completely subdued and pinned helplessly against the pavement. Chinatsu's voice cuts through the shocked silence, demanding to know what her brother is doing. Reality crashes back. Geist realizes he's drawn exactly the kind of attention he'd hoped to avoid. After lengthy questioning at the police station, authorities finally release them without charges. But Geist maintains calculated silence, his mind racing through possible explanations he can't yet voice aloud. Manaka speaks up in his defense, reminding Chinatsu that everyone knows Kisuke wouldn't hurt a fly, finally giving Geist the lifeline he desperately needs to salvage the situation. Chinatsu presses him again, concerned by his unusual quietness and distant expression. Adapting instantly, Geist shifts his entire demeanor, allowing nervousness to color his voice as he claims the whole incident terrified him. He rushes toward Chinatsu with exaggerated concern, asking repeatedly if she's all right and unharmed. Relief washes over both women as they see their familiar, gentle Kisuke apparently returning to normal behavior. Later, Chinatsu notices his missing eyewear, so Geist quickly explains the glasses broke during an earlier fall that same day. When Chinatsu expresses worry, Manaka simply chuckles at his characteristic clumsiness. Internally, Geist confirms he successfully replicated Kisuke's personality with convincing accuracy. Once alone, he methodically organizes all intelligence gathered during the police interrogation. The information reveals that the older girl is Manaka Nanase, 17 years old, Kisuke's childhood friend and a classmate at the same high school they both attend. The younger girl is Chinatsu Sakuraba, 13 years old, and Kisuke's beloved younger sister. Apparently, the Sakuraba family consists solely of these two siblings, their parents having passed away some time ago. Earlier that day, Manaka had been grocery shopping for dinner alongside Chinatsu when they encountered the purse snatchers' attack. Cross-referencing personal items discovered in Manaka's recovered bag provides additional context. Geist learns that Kisuke is genuinely kind-hearted and deeply devoted to protecting his sister. His academic grades rank above average, though his athletic abilities remain disappointingly poor. In every measurable way, Kisuke appears to be nothing more than an ordinary high school student, which raises an urgent question. How did someone so unremarkable end up participating in the brutal Susanoo rank battle system? Manaka mentions that Chinatsu's condition remains stable today, but another potentially fatal cardiac episode could strike without warning at any moment. Geist's suspicions solidify into certainty. He'd already deduced from subtle irregularities in Chinatsu's gait that severe heart disease compromises her young life. Later, Manaka questions why his clothes are so filthy and mud-stained. He fabricates a believable lie about getting caught in the earlier rain and slipping into a puddle. She then expresses hope that he didn't let Sakia manipulate him simply because his desperation for money makes him vulnerable to exploitation. He adds disturbing information. Rumors circulate that Sakia has been associating with dangerous crowds and taking on extremely shady part-time employment. He also reminds him that Sakia nearly resorted to physical violence against him just days ago. For several long moments, Geist stands motionless, processing these revelations with growing understanding. Later, he connects every piece Manaka mentioned: Sakia, money, desperation, and the puzzle finally begins revealing its complete picture. That night, he dedicates hours to carefully repairing his water-damaged phone, reasoning that this Sakia individual must have orchestrated everything, inadvertently entangling Kisuke in criminal activities beyond his comprehension. Success. The device finally powers back on after his meticulous restoration work. Shock hits him when he discovers the Susanoo rank battle icon prominently displayed on the home screen, the same distinctive emblem that adorned the lapel of the man who murdered him in his previous life. He connects the phone to a computer, attempting to hack into the application's encrypted systems. Fortunately, the laptop at his disposal is merely consumer-grade equipment with limited capabilities. He confirms the app definitely serves as the official platform for Susanoo events. They likely utilize it to capture footage and broadcast every brutal match to their hidden audience. But the haunting question persists: why does this icon match the badge worn by his killer? He still cannot establish any logical connection between his former identity and Kisuke's mundane existence. Yet coincidence seems impossible. His death and Susanoo must be intertwined somehow. The correlation runs too deep to ignore. The man who executed him definitely operates behind this application's shadowy infrastructure. Online forums reveal conflicting opinions about Susanoo's legitimacy, with several participants expressing extreme wariness about its true nature. Susanoo functions as an underground battle tournament where participation rights are granted by installing an application obtainable only through dark web channels. The system randomly assigns battle locations and timing through the app's algorithm, with matches commencing immediately upon notification. They secretly broadcast every fight nationwide using cutting-edge filming technology that somehow evades detection. Dark rumors suggest the app's parent organization maintains connections to government agencies, potentially explaining why these blatantly illegal activities face zero prosecution. Someone powerful must be providing protection from above. While internet skeptics debate Susanoo's authenticity, Geist possesses undeniable proof: the 1 million yen that materialized in his bank account as payment for winning the previous match. Geist recognizes that whatever organization operates behind this app must wield truly terrifying influence and resources. But the most shocking revelation strikes him like lightning. 5 full years have passed since Geist's original death. While he processes this disturbing timeline, a woman named Kanai enters the house with boisterous energy. Her loud voice announces her arrival to anyone within hearing distance. Research already informed Geist that this is Kisuke's aunt and current guardian. He maintains his adopted persona, cheerfully welcoming her home with polite gratitude for her continued hard work supporting the family. Instead of responding normally, she launches herself at him enthusiastically, insisting he drop the formal honorific from her name. She begs him to call her Kanai-chan instead, claiming that formal address creates an emotional wall between them that breaks her heart. Geist persistently uses Kanai-san while warning her that excessive noise will wake Chinatsu, who's resting in the bedroom. Eventually, Kanai reassures him not to worry about Chinatsu's mounting medical expenses because she intends to handle all financial burdens personally. Mid-conversation, she suddenly notices his missing glasses. As Geist searches for a plausible explanation, she declares he looks remarkably handsome without them, playfully joking she'd request a date if only she were a few years younger. Geist moves to check on her physical condition. She complains of feeling unwell and slightly nauseous, while assisting her to somewhere more comfortable. Geist's attention snaps to a sudden notification illuminating his phone screen. The next battle match has been assigned. The following day, Saturday, Geist makes deliberate modifications, cutting his bangs short so they won't obstruct his vision during combat and permanently abandoning the glasses. Suki apparently suffered from poor eyesight before Geist assumed control of his body, yet Geist discovers his vision now functions at peak performance levels. The persistent problem remains. Kisuke's physically underdeveloped body-intensive training will be mandatory for future survival. Though he feels somewhat guilty toward this body's previous owner, he accepts that borrowing it for his own purposes has become necessary for an indefinite period. While these preparations unfold, Chinatsu undergoes another hospital examination to monitor her deteriorating condition. Geist seizes this opportunity to confront the situation head-on without witnesses. He travels to the designated battle location displayed on his app. Upon arrival, he observes significantly more surveillance drones than the previous encounter. Clearly, this match has attracted substantial viewer attention. Though he despises the circumstances, he recognizes no alternative exists except playing along with their twisted game system because, inside the building, he discovers some guy energetically practicing shadowboxing combinations. Hoarding with breezes, Geist's trained eye immediately assesses the fighter, sharp reflexes, and devastating speed. The moment the guy notices his arrival, he apologizes for his delayed acknowledgement. He explains he was filming promotional content to stream on his channel before the official match begins. Research already provided Geist with his identity, Takeshi Mukai, a combat sports YouTuber with a significant following. Geist extends his hand professionally and introduces himself as Kisuke. Takeshi accepts the handshake while mentioning he watched the previous match footage, admitting that Kisuke radiates a completely different energy now. He questions whether they're genuinely the same person. With growing intrigue, Takeshi observes that Kisuke seems remarkably mature for a high school student, wondering aloud if perhaps he's simply imagining things. Geist recognizes that Takeshi possesses dangerously sharp observational skills, exactly what one expects from a former professional boxer. According to online information he uncovered, Takeshi once competed as a professional boxer, a highly skilled fighter who achieved 15th place in the World Heavyweight Division rankings. But years ago, tragedy struck when his opponent died during a match sponsored by a major corporation, the so-called ring tragedy, that forced his retirement from professional competition. Geist studied archive videos of Takeshi's past matches, observing his style, an in-fighter boxer who excelled in explosive agility and devastating close-quarters combat. His signature technique involves closing distance instantaneously with a perfectly timed right hook. Despite retirement, clearly he hasn't neglected daily training as evidenced by his current combat sports YouTube career. The gap in their physical capabilities becomes painfully obvious from observing Takeshi's shadowboxing alone. Even with all his previous life's expertise, securing victory against such an opponent while trapped in Kisuke's underdeveloped body will prove extraordinarily difficult. Before the official match commences, Takeshi compliments Geist, noting that the movements displayed during the second half of his last match were absolutely incredible and seemed completely impossible for an ordinary high school kid to execute. He explains that numerous viewers on his channel now eagerly anticipate another spectacular performance from him in this upcoming bout. With a friendly smile, he requests that Geist please go easy on him during their fight. Unlike the previous encounter, Geist has enjoyed ample preparation time for this confrontation. He memorized the complete layout of these ruins serving as their battleground and ran mental simulations for every conceivable unexpected situation that might arise. The match timer begins its countdown. Geist immediately breaks into a sprint in the opposite direction. His strategy hinges on observing Takeshi's movement patterns first, then adjusting tactics based on his pre-planned simulations. In a blink, Takeshi materializes at his flank, declaring he sees through whatever trick Geist is planning. The sheer velocity stuns Geist. This opponent moves even faster in actual combat than shadowboxing suggested. A cold realization strikes. If Takeshi closes the gap completely, his superior close combat expertise will end this fight decisively. Geist attempts to flee in another direction, but Takeshi calls out confidently that no amount of running will match his overwhelming speed advantage. With dark humor, Takeshi jokes that his comments section will turn hostile if they don't exchange actual blows soon, then launches a devastating punch toward Geist's position. Geist barely evades the strike, though the punch's incredible speed still grazes him painfully. Genuine surprise flashes across Takeshi's face that his opponent managed to dodge that attack. Without hesitation, he commits to another assault. Geist recognizes the telltale setup. Takeshi's signature right hook approach, getting hit by that technique would spell absolute disaster. Takeshi unleashes his notorious right hook with explosive force, but shock paralyzes him when Geist successfully blocks the devastating strike. Disbelief colors his expression. Blocking his hook at such dangerously close range should be impossible. Respect creeps into his voice as he admits that Geist possesses genuine skill. He quickly retreats several steps, calculating that Geist must be concealing some hidden advantage. Because those defensive movements mirror techniques from his own professional boxing career, Geist knew absorbing that hook directly would have ended everything. That's why he concealed an iron plate in his hand specifically to deflect the attack. That revelation stuns Takeshi. What kind of high schooler comes to battle this thoroughly prepared? As she realizes his stream's credibility suffers if some amateur with zero boxing experience can neutralize his signature technique. Determined to restore his reputation, he charges forward again with renewed aggression. Yet again, Geist interposes his iron plate, blocking the assault. Frustration builds in Takeshi's chest. He transitions into rapid-fire combinations, both fists flying in synchronized fury. While Geist desperately attempts to block the onslaught, he recognizes the punches arrive fast and brutally heavy. Here, defensive posture becomes his only option. No openings present themselves for counterattack. At this brutal pace, Kisuke's fragile body cannot endure much longer. Meanwhile, Takeshi acknowledges internally that Geist proves tougher than anticipated, meaning his viewer engagement points won't increase as planned. Time to unleash a secret tactical variation. Takeshi telegraphs another signature right hook approach. Geist raises his guard to block, but the attack serves merely as misdirection. Takeshi's left hook crashes into Geist's chest instead, exploiting the opening perfectly. The impact makes him stagger backward dangerously. Takeshi presses his advantage, coming in hard with his right hook now, but Geist somehow dodges at the last instant and creates distance with a backwards leap. The live stream viewers erupt with excitement over how Takeshi masterfully landed that body blow after feinting the right hook setup. Among the ruins, Takeshi wonders if his comment section is getting properly hyped after executing that combination. He adds that opponents always expect his famous right hook, so exploiting their cautious anticipation against them has become second nature. Geist decides to weaponize that predictability against him, his eyes shifting to that deadly blue hue once more. She recognizes his opponent is formulating a counter-strategy, but excitement colors his voice as he declares he can hardly wait to see it. He closes distance aggressively to finish Geist off before any plan can materialize. His fists fly again in relentless combinations, but Geist's defense holds firm. While maintaining his assault barrage, Takeshi experiences growing confusion. Why does his opponent appear so eerily calm when he should be frantically scrambling to defend against this overwhelming offensive pressure? An ominous premonition crawls up his spine, and as Geist prepares to, he deflects another one of Takeshi's incoming punches with calculated precision. Geist commits everything to a right hook of his own. Takeshi barely manages to dodge the counter, his reflexes saving him by millimeters. He retreats hastily, adrenaline flooding his system as he realizes how dangerously close that was. He cannot believe Geist pulled off such a maneuver. A haunting question echoes in his mind. Who is this mysterious opponent really? Tension grips his entire body now. He redoubles his offensive assault, throwing combinations with increased desperation. Geist maintains his defensive stance, internally lamenting that he'd hoped to land that previous strike, but Kisuke's body simply couldn't match the necessary speed. The realization crystallizes: this body approaches its absolute limit, and the next opening might represent his final chance to secure victory. While throwing punches, Takeshi senses his opponent strategizing even under this relentless pressure. But confidence remains. Geist cannot possibly master his right hook pattern just from deflecting it once. Suddenly, Geist slips Takeshi's latest punch with perfect timing and launches his own punch straight toward Takeshi's exposed face. Shock registers as Takeshi realizes Geist didn't attempt deflection this time. He committed to a full counter. This tactical choice allowed Geist to harness Takeshi's own momentum, compensating for the raw punching power that Kisuke's underdeveloped body fundamentally lacks. During his extensive review of Takeshi's archived match footage, Geist identified the recurring pattern behind many of his career losses. Specifically, premature stamina depletion from overusing those wide, speed-dependent right hooks. So when Geist observed Takeshi's increased perspiration and increasingly ragged breathing, he recognized the telltale signs. The explosive sharpness of his speed had diminished significantly. That deterioration made landing the perfect counterblow achievable even in Kisuke's limited body. Takeshi remained sprawled on the ground for several agonizing moments. Eventually, he struggles onto his hands and knees. Tremors racked Takeshi's frame. Clearly, he sustained serious damage from that counter, but determination ignites within him. He refuses to lose in this desolate place. Fueled by that burning resolve, he launches into another desperate right hook. Geist attempts to raise his defensive arm. Horror strikes when his limb refuses to respond to neural commands. The accumulated damage and exhaustion have finally overwhelmed this body's capacity. Worse, he recognizes his critical error, underestimating Takeshi's true capabilities. Meanwhile, Takeshi's internal voice screams that losing isn't an option. Victory is mandatory for his family's sake. He must prevail here. Sasana. Takeshi's gaze suddenly shifts sideways and his eyes widen. Sasana stands there in his peripheral vision. Confusion floods him. Why is she appearing here now? When his attention snaps forward to refocus on combat, Geist has already launched himself airborne and his roundhouse kick connects solidly with Takeshi's position. Ishii's mind races, questioning what manner of fighter he faces, but his training kicks in. Dodge this attack, then counterattack for the win. He successfully blocks the initial aerial strike. But fatal oversight, he fails to notice Geist already unleashing a second kick with his other leg, executing the technique without even watching his own movement. Second kick crashes into Takeshi's face with devastating precision. The impact sends him crashing to the ground. Disbelief overwhelms Takeshi. This opponent just executed a double continuous roundhouse kick. How does some high schooler possess Taekwondo mastery? His vision fills with dancing cartoon dolphins, and consciousness begins fading rapidly. Memories flood back unbidden. The terrible moment his opponent died in the ring during their professional match. That tragedy consumed him with overwhelming rage and guilt. His wife tried desperately to convince him it was an accident, that no blame should fall on him, but he silenced her protests while drowning his anguish in alcohol. Takeshi's tortured mind convinced him the entire world labeled him a murderer, and he accused his wife of secretly believing the same deep down despite her denials. She tried insisting otherwise, but he ordered her out of his sight. Several years passed before he started his streaming channel, hoping videos might help him overcome the crushing despair and regret. Eventually, he received correspondence from his wife containing a handmade charm that Sasana had created specifically for him. Her innocent hope that Daddy could achieve his dream of becoming world champion. That simple charm brought Takeshi more profound joy than even his championship belt ever had. From that moment, he dedicated himself to building fame and earning substantial money, determined to reunite with his family again. In the present, Takeshi lies motionless on the cold ground, unable to summon movement. The system announces Geist as the official victor. The live commentator erupts with frenzied excitement over the shocking upset, Takeshi losing to some seemingly weak high school student. Geist retrieves the fallen charm from where it landed, and recognition strikes him. He would have almost certainly lost if Takeshi hadn't inexplicably hesitated at that critical moment. The opening strikes true. Two devastating roundhouse kicks in rapid succession, each one wide and brutal, connecting with deadly precision. A flicker of confusion crosses his mind. What exactly had Takeshi been fixating on during those crucial moments? Then, scanning the perimeter, his gaze locks onto an unexpected figure, a girl standing motionless in the shadows. Her voice cuts through the tension. Why are you doing something like this? The question hangs in the air, demanding an answer. Recognition hits like a shockwave. It's Manhwa. 1,000 questions flood Geist's thoughts. What could possibly bring her to this forsaken place? Before he can process it, the drone's mechanical eye swivels, detecting the intrusion with cold efficiency. Instinct takes over. Geist seizes her arm and drags her toward the exit, their escape a desperate blur of motion. Once they've cleared the danger zone, Manaka doubles over, chest heaving as she fights for breath. But Geist's mind races with concern sharper than any blade. "Why were you at that abandoned building?" His tone carries an edge of urgency. Her answer comes between labored breaths. She'd come searching for him, troubled by how strangely he'd acted during their previous encounter. Something had felt terribly off. His next question is immediate. "How did you even know where to find me?" The truth emerges with disarming simplicity. Their phones have been sharing location data all along. Precaution they'd established after the incident with Chinatsu, a safety net in case disaster struck again. The realization crashes over Geist like ice water. He'd completely overlooked the tracking app installed on Kisuke's phone. Such carelessness could have cost him everything, and now that oversight has led Manaka directly into danger. That evening, under the cloak of darkness, Geist launches himself from perilously high vantage points, his body becoming one with the void below. This is parkour, the athletic discipline born in France, renowned for its gravity-defying acrobatics and breathtaking fluidity. Each movement screams danger, yet the flashy, death-defying maneuvers serve a critical purpose. Though the risks are immense, this remains the fastest method to truly understand this body's capabilities. By meticulously testing the muscle density in his limbs, examining the full range of motion in every joint, and pushing each system to its absolute breaking point, he maps out precisely what his current form can and cannot accomplish. Knowledge earned through pain. The harsh truth settles in. Geist's physical capabilities have been dramatically diminished in this vessel, and the problem runs deeper than simply being outmatched by stronger opponents. The real handicap stems from unfamiliarity. This body remains foreign territory. Replicating his former prowess seems almost impossible right now. Yet hope flickers in the darkness. If he can fully adapt to this form's unique properties, his fighting style should evolve into something far more refined than before. Mid-training, a memory surfaces unbidden, Manaka's worried voice asking if he'd accepted. The key is shady proposition, the one that had sounded too dangerous to be legitimate. 2 hours prior, faced with what she'd witnessed, Geist had made the difficult choice to reveal the truth about Susano. Honesty seemed the only path forward. In that flashback, disbelief floods her features. "Something is seriously wrong with you," she protests, her voice trembling. Her gaze fixates on his drastically altered appearance. "Why did you suddenly cut your hair like that?" Desperation colors her plea. "Please stop this before something terrible happens to you." But Geist knows with absolute certainty, retreat isn't an option. Not now, not when he's this close. He must track down the man responsible for his death, and simultaneously, he carries the weight of helping Kisuke secure the funds Chinatsu desperately needs. Geist's response is final, leaving no room for negotiation. Quitting simply isn't possible, Manaka. The clock is ticking mercilessly. They have no way of predicting when Chinatsu's failing heart will give out completely. A heart transplant isn't just necessary, it's urgent, a race against mortality itself. The surgery must happen overseas, far beyond what insurance will cover. The estimated cost? A staggering minimum of 500 million yen, an impossible sum for ordinary people. This brutal reality finally makes sense. Geist understands now why Kisuke willingly entered the Susano death matches. Desperation had left him with no alternative, though logically this burden shouldn't fall on his shoulders. Geist has made a silent vow. While inhabiting this body, he'll honor Kisuke's desperate love for his sister. Forcing optimism into his voice, Geist offers reassurance with an almost cheerful tone. "I'll be perfectly fine. You don't need to worry about me. Actually, I believe I've grown significantly stronger lately." But Manaka's anguish erupts with raw intensity. "Why does it have to be you risking everything?" Her words pour out in a torrent. "Why didn't you tell me any of this? I know I'm unreliable and powerless, but still." Emotions overwhelm her defenses, and tears begin streaming down her cheeks as her composure shatters completely. The question that follows cuts deepest. "Do you really consider me so unimportant?" Each word drips with wounded pride and fear. Before Geist can reach out, before he can explain or comfort, she turns and flees into the night, leaving him frozen in her wake. Back in the present moment, suspended between earth and sky, Geist considers the brutal truth. He'd much rather avoid this entire complicated mess. But avoidance is a luxury he cannot afford. Action must be taken, consequences be damned. Then gravity claims him, and he plummets headfirst towards certain death. Fate intervenes in the form of a tree just beneath the railing, branches catching his falling body at the final possible second, salvation wrapped in bark and leaves. Upon returning home in his battered state, Chinatsu's eyes widen with alarm. "What on earth happened to you?" He deflects with practiced humor. "Would you believe I tripped again?" But Chinatsu sees through the facade instantly. "Did you fight with Manaka?" The question catches him completely off guard. How could she possibly know? Her explanation comes simply. "I called her earlier, and she sounded absolutely devastated about something." A knowing smile crosses Chinatsu's lips as she ventures a guess. "I bet Manaka told you that your new hairstyle doesn't suit you at all, though, honestly, I think it looks kind of wild and untamed." He adds with affectionate exasperation, having such a hopeless big brother really does make a little sister worry constantly. The words trigger something deep within Geist. A memory of his own little sister surfaces, her voice echoing across time. You're completely hopeless without me, you know. His body goes rigid, lost in painful nostalgia. Chinatsu notices immediately, hey, what's wrong? Shaking off the ghosts of his past, he apologizes quietly. Chinatsu's response is gentle but firm. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to Manaka at school tomorrow. And so the next day arrives, bringing with it the weight of unfinished conversations. Walking through the school grounds, his eyes find her instantly. Manaka, looking thoroughly dejected, her usual brightness dimmed to almost nothing. He moves to intercept her path, to finally bridge the painful gap between them. But before words can form, an unfamiliar voice intrudes. Yo, what's with that new haircut? Geist's mind scrambles. Who is this person? The stranger radiates classic bully energy, his smirk predatory as he probes further. Think you look cool or something? Without invitation or permission, the guy's hand clamps onto Geist's shoulder. Let's go have a little chat, shall we? Moments later, Geist finds himself dragged to the isolated area behind the school building. The guy's tone shifts, becoming almost conversational. Gotta say, I didn't expect you to actually win 2 fights in a row. Understanding crystallizes instantly. This must be him, the one who lured Kasuke into Susanoo's deadly arena. Sakiya Yuji. Self-satisfaction drips from Sakiya's voice. I'm feeling pretty damn proud as the guy who brought you in, you know. Before this confrontation, Geist had taken precautions, hacking into the school's database to compile a comprehensive profile on Sakiya. The data painted a predictable picture: poor classroom behavior, excessive unexcused absences, textbook delinquent patterns. According to the school's underground website, Sakiya's reputation among students ranges from fear to outright hatred. The list of alleged crimes reads like a rap sheet: robbery, extortion, trafficking illegal substances, and facilitating dangerous part-time opportunities for desperate students. Rumors persist of him leading a small but vicious criminal organization. Yet despite his high-profile activities, law enforcement has never successfully touched him. The question lingers: why? One anonymous post on the website offered a chilling theory. Word is, Sakiya is protected by some insane underground organization. That's why the cops can't lay a finger on him. Could this mysterious power be the same entity orchestrating Susanoo? And more critically, what's Sakiya's precise connection to these shadowy puppet masters? When Sakiya registers the prolonged silence, his grin widens with predatory amusement. What's wrong? You scared already? Forcing lightness into his tone, Geist responds with false cheer. So, what can I do for you? Sakiya's answer comes with brutal directness. This is about my cut, obviously. The shakedown begins in earnest. You only earned that cash thanks to my introduction, so naturally you owe me my share as gratitude. That's how this works, kid. Sakiya lays out the math with casual menace. D-rank fights pay 1 million per win. You've won twice. That's 2 million total sitting pretty in your pocket. Then comes the generous offer, delivered with theatrical magnanimity. Tell you what, since it's your first time, I'll give you a discount. Just 1.8 million yen. How's that sound? Geist affects shock convincingly, his protest sounding appropriately shaken. I can't possibly. But internally, the puzzle pieces snap together. So this is why Sakiya summoned him here, nothing more than a crude money grab. The revelation is almost disappointing, just another petty thug. The assessment forms quickly. Sakiya lacks the sophistication to be genuinely connected to that mysterious organization. Time to call his bluff and see what cards he's really holding. Without warning, one of Sakiya's lackeys pipes up with a suggestion that freezes the blood. Hey boss, why don't we take Manaka as payment instead? Girl's got a nice body on her. The thug's leer grows more obscene. Honestly, I'd prefer that over cash any day. Something primal ignites within Geist. His hand shoots out, fist closing around the man's shirt collar. Horror and confusion war within him as he realizes his body is moving entirely on its own, driven by pure protective rage. The large thug's face contorts with indignation. Who the hell do you think you are? His fist comes swinging with brutal intent. But Geist's counterpunch arrives first, redirecting the momentum with surgical precision and driving the man's face downward into unforgiving ground. The finishing blow lands with devastating finality, one punch, and consciousness abandons the would-be predator. In that instant, the world transforms. Geist's eyes glow with that familiar, lethal azure light, and the surrounding atmosphere shifts into the deadly blue aura that signals his true nature emerging. Shock ripples through the remaining gang members like an electric current. When they rush to check their fallen comrade, the grim reality sets in. He's completely unconscious, possibly concussed. The moment shatters as an adult voice booms across the space. What do you think you're doing back here? An authority figure has caught them red-handed. Sakiya's survival instincts kick in immediately. Everyone scatter. Now, his command cuts through the confusion. But his mind races with new calculations. The way Geist moved just now, that wasn't normal. Something far more dangerous lurks beneath that ordinary student facade. The realization solidifies into certainty. Those 2 consecutive victories weren't flukes or lucky breaks. This kid is genuinely skilled. The gang members disperse like roaches when lights flick on, vanishing into various escape routes. As they flee, Geist's internal monologue carries a note of weary resignation. He sincerely hopes this incident doesn't escalate into something even more problematic. The approaching adult arrives at the scene, concern evident in his voice as he checks on the fallen person. But then recognition strikes. It's Takeshi, and Takeshi's equally shocked to discover that the mysterious fighter is none other than Geist. Later, seated across from each other, Takeshi breaks the awkward silence. "I got close because the back of your head looked familiar." He adds with genuine surprise, "Never expected to run into you again today, especially after just seeing you 2 days ago." Geist redirects the conversation. "So what brings you to the school in the first place?" Takeshi's explanation carries a note of unexpected hope. "They offered me a position as boxing club coach. Initially planned to refuse, but something changed my mind." His expression grows more serious as he poses a question. "Do you know about why I retired from professional boxing?" When Geist offers no response, silence confirming ignorance, Takeshi continues, voice heavy with old pain. "There was a disaster in the ring, something that caused my family to leave me." He describes his desperate pivot, becoming a YouTuber, entering Susano's deadly arena, all chasing the hollow dream that fame and wealth would bring his family back. Self-awareness colors his admission. "Looking back now, I can see how shallow that dream really was." But then his expression softens with something resembling gratitude. "After you knocked me out, something important came rushing back. Memory returns with crystalline clarity. I remember how my family used to smile while watching me dedicate myself completely to boxing. That pure devotion, that's what they loved." The emotional revelation continues. "My daughter contacted me for the first time in years after I lost to you. She told me about her middle school life, mentioned she watches all my videos." His voice cracks slightly with recalled emotion. "What really broke me was when she said she liked her dad better as a boxer than as a YouTuber. That's when I understood. Understanding dawns like sunrise. All that chasing after money and fame, it was purely selfish. I'd forgotten what truly mattered." Geist reaches into his pocket and produces one of the dolphin charms that fell during their fight. He extends it toward Takeshi. "I've been looking for a way to return this to you." Surprise flashes across Takeshi's weathered features as he recognizes the charm. Geist's explanation comes with genuine regret. "I apologize for taking it. I fully intended to return it immediately, but unexpected circumstances forced me to leave in a hurry." The question emerges gently. "This is a gift from your daughter, isn't it?" Takeshi confirms with a nod. The charm triggers Geist's own buried memories. His sister pressing a good luck charm into his palm, her earnest expression promising it would protect him always. The moment stretches between them, heavy with unspoken understanding. Then Geist's phone vibrates urgently. A notification illuminating the screen announces a new battle assignment. His blood runs cold as he processes the opponent's identity displayed before him. This can't be happening. Not now. Not this soon. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, a bus rolls past where Manaka stands waiting. Before she can react, hands shoot out from the open door, yanking her violently inside the vehicle. That night, the Susano Underground Battle Arena buzzes with anticipation for a special promotional match. The chosen venue carries its own grim poetry, an old-school building in Tokyo, already condemned for demolition, now serving as a battleground for human violence. The commentator's voice booms through speakers, hyping the crowd. Kisuke may be completely unknown in these circles, but this dark horse has systematically dismantled powerhouse fighters despite his D-rank status. The announcement continues with mounting excitement. Due to Kisuke's impressive streak of 2 consecutive victories, management has arranged this special promotion match. Victory here means accelerated advancement through the ranks, an unprecedented opportunity for such a newcomer. His opponent, Sakaya Yuji, be warned. Sakaya's reputation precedes him. His dominant, brutal fighting style has caused numerous opponents to forfeit mid-match rather than endure further punishment. Will Kisuke suffer the same fate? Dread settles in Geist's stomach like lead. He hadn't anticipated facing Sakia this quickly. The timeline is compressed dangerously. Before arriving, he meticulously studied archived footage of Sakia's previous matches, searching for exploitable weaknesses. The pattern that emerged was deeply unsettling. While skill gaps between Sakia and his opponents weren't dramatically pronounced, most fighters inexplicably lost their will to continue mid-battle. Something beyond pure combat ability was at play. As they prepare for the opening bell, Sakia leans in with venomous promise. "I'm going to absolutely crush you into nothing." The match erupts into motion. Sakia charges forward with predatory speed, an expandable baton already gripped in his hand. The weapon arcs through air toward Geist's skull, but he launches himself sideways, narrowly evading the strike. Sakia presses the assault, bringing the baton around for another vicious swing at facial level. At such close range, dodging should be impossible. Yet impossibly, Geist bends his spine backward in a move that defies normal human flexibility, the weapon whistling harmlessly overhead. Frustration flashes across Sakia's features. "Lucky dodge," he mutters, refusing to acknowledge superior skill. The barrage continues relentlessly, each strike intended to maim or kill, but Geist flows around every attack like water. While maintaining his defensive dance, Geist analyzes his opponent's technique with professional detachment. The form isn't amateur. This is trained kendo, probably black belt level. Sakiya's likely never tasted defeat in common street brawls against untrained thugs. But for someone with Geist experience, child's play. More importantly, he notices something encouraging. The effects of his parkour training are manifesting beautifully. His synchronization with this body grows stronger by the second. Eventually, Sakiya's composure cracks completely, his voice rising with barely contained rage. Just because you got a little stronger doesn't mean you should get cocky, you little shit. Then the true horror reveals itself. Sakiya's accomplices drag Manaka into view, his hands roaming over her restrained form with calculated menace. The brutal truth crashes over Geist like a tidal wave. This is how Sakiya wins his matches. By seizing hostages, torturing them psychologically, and forcing opponents to choose between their own survival and protecting innocent victims. Sakiya's warning drips with sadistic glee. Better not resist, or my boys here are going to have themselves a real good time with Manaka. His threat grows more explicit, more revolting. Wonder what kind of sounds she'll make when I touch her right here, right in front of your eyes. Should be entertaining. Understanding crystallizes with sickening clarity. Sakiya is a sadist who derives genuine pleasure from torturing those he considers beneath him, feeding on their helplessness and despair. But surrendering isn't an option. Forfeiting means abandoning his goal of exposing Susanno's organizers, betraying everything he's fought for. When Sakiya launches another attack, something catastrophic occurs. Geist's body suddenly freezes solid, muscles refusing to obey commands. Panic floods his system as paralysis takes hold. Why has his body betrayed him now, at this critical moment? Sakiya's voice oozes with triumphant satisfaction as he observes the frozen fighter. That's it, be a good boy and accept what's coming. The horrifying truth sets in. Geist's body refuses to obey his commands. Sakiya's baton connects again with sickening impact, and a terrifying possibility emerges. Could this body be actively rejecting his consciousness? The sensation feels hauntingly familiar. He'd experienced this exact phenomenon when his hand seized that thug earlier and delivered those devastating blows without conscious thought. Only one person could possibly exert this kind of control from within. The answer crystallizes with absolute certainty. Kisuke is still alive. His consciousness exists somewhere deep within this shared vessel, fighting for dominance. Sakiya's voice drips with mock generosity as he circles his paralyzed prey. Tell you what, I might consider accepting your surrender if you grovel and beg for forgiveness properly. But then something shifts. Geist's eyes suddenly ignite with that otherworldly blue luminescence, defiance burning through the paralysis. Rage contorts Sakiya's features at this display of resistance. Time to erase that cockiness permanently with his. The baton becomes a blur of violence, smashing repeatedly into Geist's face with brutal, methodical precision. Each impact produces a sickening crunch. Confusion ripples through the commentator's voice. What's happening to Kisuke? Why can't he mount any defense against this savage assault? Meanwhile, away from the main fight, one of the gang members leans close to Manaka with venomous satisfaction. This is all your fault, you know. Your boyfriend's getting pulverized because of you. Tears stream down Manaka's face as desperate thoughts consume her mind. Please, Kisuke, just run. Forget about me and escape while you still can. The honking gang member's eyes roam over her restrained form with predatory hunger. His hand reaches out, fingers extending toward her body with disgusting intent. Before contact, another gang member intervened sharply. Wait, you idiot, Sakiya said to save the fun for after, remember? The big one, Chono, protests with obvious frustration. What's the problem with just a little preview? Suzuka, the third member, nods in agreement. Seriously, we always get nothing but scraps after Sakiya takes what he wants anyway. Decision made, Chono begins working at Manaka's restraints, eager to claim his prize before their leader notices. Horror floods through Manaka as understanding dawns. These monsters intend to violate her right here, right now. The moment her bonds loosen, survival instinct kicks in. She bolts for freedom with every ounce of desperate energy. But her escape attempt ends abruptly at a window that refuses to budge, the mechanism jammed or locked. Footsteps close in rapidly. Chono's mocking laughter echoes through the space. You moron, this is the 4th floor. Where exactly did you think you were running to? His voice grows darker with twisted anticipation. Gotta say though, chasing down a girl who's trying to escape? That's a real turn on. The third guy interjects nervously. Dude, Sakiya's gonna beat you senseless for this later. But Manaka isn't listening. She finally forces the 4th floor window open with desperate strength. Her eyes lock onto a drain pipe running down the building's exterior. Without hesitation, she climbs out and begins her descent. Shock registers across the gang members' faces. Holy shit, she's gonna get herself killed. They rush forward, suddenly more concerned with preventing a death than their previous intentions. Manaka continues her dangerous descent, fingers gripping the pipe with white-knuckled determination. Then, with a metallic groan, the upper section begins separating from its mounting. Back in the arena, Sakiya continues his relentless assault on Geist's face. Is this really how it ends? The thought whispers through Geist's battered consciousness. Drawing on his last reserves of will, he attempts communication with the presence he knows lurks within. Kisuke, I know you can hear me. You're the one restraining this body. His internal voice carries genuine respect. Your desperation to save that girl, I understand it completely. I admire that level of resolve more than you know, but harsh reality must be acknowledged. However, you need to understand something critical. Sakiya is not an honorable man. He will never keep his word about leaving Manaka untouched, regardless of whether you fight or surrender. The plea becomes more personal, more vulnerable. I recognize the cruelty of fate, a dead man's consciousness stealing your body, disrupting your life, but I'm begging you, lend me control of this vessel just a little longer. The promise emerges with iron conviction. I swear on everything I am, I will protect what's precious to you. Sakiya winds up for another devastating strike, but this time something miraculous happens. Geist's body responds, launching him clear of danger's path. Fury floods Sakiya's features. You bastard, are you seriously defying me now? But Geist feels the shift clearly. Kisuke has granted permission, relinquishing control to the consciousness that shares his body. Gratitude and determination merge within Geist's thoughts. I'll keep my word, Kisuke, I promise. Sakiya's threat carries renewed venom. Fine then, I'm done playing nice. My guys are going to completely destroy Manaka. At that precise moment, Manaka's scream pierces the night air. The pipe she's clinging to bends backward under her weight, groaning ominously. Confusion and alarm spike through Geist's mind. What is she doing on that pipe? Without conscious thought, he breaks into a sprint towards Sakiya's position. Sakiya swings his baton in a wide arc, but shock registers when Geist launches himself upward, soaring completely over the attack. Landing with cat-like grace directly behind his stunned opponent, Geist pivots and vaults over the building's railing, throwing himself off the fourth-floor ledge into empty space. The commentator's voice rises to near hysteria. Is he attempting suicide? What kind of desperate move is this? But then the camera captures the truth. Geist's hand grips a fire hose, using it as an improvised rope for his death-defying maneuver. The instant Manaka's pipe snaps completely free from the wall, gravity claims her, pulling her toward the ground far below in a nightmare of freefall. But Geist's arc through the air intersects her trajectory perfectly, his arms close around her body mid-descent, momentum swinging them both to relative safety. Shock and recognition flood her tear-stained face. Kisuke, his response carries equal parts relief and exasperation. You're absolutely reckless, you know that? They touch down on solid ground, the impact jarring but survivable. When they turn to assess the situation behind them, Sakiya stands at the window above, his expression transforming as he realizes his leverage has completely evaporated. Rage overriding strategy, he barks orders at his remaining men. Everyone rush in at once, overwhelm him with numbers. Geist's tactical mind races through calculations. Can he realistically handle 4 opponents simultaneously while injured and protecting Manaka? The odds aren't favorable. The first gang member charges forward with reckless aggression, but Geist's fist intercepts his jaw with surgical precision, sending him crashing into unconsciousness before he registers the impact. An authoritative voice suddenly cuts through the chaos, sharp with official displeasure. Hold it right there. Bringing multiple fighters to interfere with a sanctioned one-on-one match is strictly forbidden. The newcomer's tone demands answers. What exactly is the meaning of this violation? Why have unauthorized persons intruded on what should have been a standard individual combat scenario? Recognition dawns. It's Takeshi, appearing like an avenging angel at the perfect moment. Geist's surprise is genuine. What are you doing here? But Takeshi drops into a combat-ready stance, muscles coiled with lethal intent. Explanations can wait. Right now, we handle this. Suzuka abandons any pretense of fair fighting, producing a switchblade that glints menacingly as he lunges toward Geist with slashing intent. Simultaneously, Chono hefts a metal chair overhead, charging forward with brutal momentum. Hand over the girl or we break you both. Geist's response is pure acrobatics. He launches himself upward, somersaulting cleanly over Chono's head to evade the dual assault. Landing behind his attackers, he shouts urgently to Takeshi, "Get Manaka out of here, run." Manaka's protest comes immediately, voice trembling with fear and guilt. No, it's too dangerous for Kisuke to fight them all alone. But Takeshi's experience overrides her objections. He scoops her up bodily and breaks into a sprint toward the exit. Geist calls after them with genuine appreciation. "I owe you one for this, Takeshi." Manaka struggles against Takeshi's grip, desperation coloring every word. "Let me go. Kisuke is going to get seriously hurt." Takeshi's response cuts through her panic with harsh logic. If you genuinely care about his safety, focus on escaping. That's how you help him right now, by not being a liability he has to protect. The words penetrate her panic, but confusion replaces it. "Wait, who even are you? Why were you there?" His explanation comes between labored breaths as they run. "I owed Kisuke a favor. Plus, I knew his opponent has quite the nasty reputation in certain circles." The pieces click together. I was streaming the match remotely, and something felt completely wrong about Kisuke's behavior during the fight. He wasn't attempting to dodge anything, just standing there taking punishment like he was paralyzed or something. That's when I suspected Sakia was using dirty tactics, so I grabbed my car and rushed over here immediately. Reaching the vehicle, Takeshi deposits Manaka in the passenger seat. She makes one final plea, tears streaming freely. "Forget about me, please go back and help him. He can't possibly handle 3 opponents alone." But Takeshi's resolve is unshakable. "This is exactly what Kisuke asked me to do. Trust him." The car peels away into the night, removing her from the danger zone. Meanwhile, Chono raises an iron pipe overhead, intent on crushing Geist into the pavement. But fluid movement carries Geist clear of the strike zone, even as multiple drones capture every angle of the brutal confrontation. In a heartbeat, Geist closes the distance separating them, driving his knee upward into Chono's sternum with devastating force. The impact lifts the larger man momentarily before gravity reasserts itself, slamming him to the ground. Behind him, Suzuka makes his move blade flashing in a vicious arc, but Geist's counter is perfectly timed, redirecting the momentum so the knife embeds itself deep into a wooden bench instead of flesh. The follow-up is immediate. His boot connects with Suzuka's face, consciousness fleeing on impact. One strike, one unconscious opponent. The commentator's voice rises with renewed excitement. Incredible speed. Note how Kisuke adapts instantaneously to environmental factors, using surroundings as weapons. Moments later, Sakia surveys the carnage, his entire crew sprawled unconscious across the ground. "Useless trash, every last one of you." Geist turns slowly to face the final opponent, blood streaming down his face but eyes burning with unquenchable determination. "Looks like it's just you and me now, Sakia, so come on, let's finish this." Provocation drips from every syllable. "What's wrong? Afraid of one injured man? Or did you suddenly transform into a coward once your hostage leverage disappeared?" Rage consumes rational thought. Sakia charges forward with the baton raised, technique abandoned in favor of pure murderous intent. Exactly as Geist intended, he waits patiently as his opponent closes the distance, timing counting down in his mind. The baton descends in a wild overhead smash, but Geist observes with clinical detachment how Sakia's technique has completely deteriorated. Anger has robbed him of precision and control. At the perfect instant, Geist's hand shoots upward, fingers closing around Sakia's wrist mid-swing with iron grip. Then, using his opponent's momentum against him, Geist executes a throw that sends Sakia face first into unforgiving ground. The impact is brutal, teeth clicking together, lips splitting open. Before Sakia can process what happened, he looks up to see Geist standing over him, the confiscated baton raised high for the finishing blow. Moments later, victory is officially declared. The commentator's voice carries all, and Kisuke wins using the legendary weaponless disarm technique. Absolutely masterful. Reality crashes back as adrenaline fades. Geist realizes he needs immediate medical attention. Blood loss has reached dangerous levels. But then bright lights suddenly illuminate the scene, and dread coils in Geist's stomach. This could be catastrophic. He braces himself for whatever comes next, muscles tensing despite exhaustion. Police officers flood the area in coordinated precision, but their target isn't Geist. They swarm Sakia and his gang members instead, snapping handcuffs with practiced efficiency. "You're all under arrest. These are the suspects we've been tracking." They were the real targets all along. Later that evening, in the quiet safety of home, Chinatsu's casual question breaks the peaceful silence. "Hey Kanai, are you working late shift today?" Kanai's apologetic voice carries a note of distraction. "Sorry, I'm right in the middle of tracking down something really important for the story." Concern colors. Chinatsu's response as she gently warns against overwork, but Kanai waves off the worry with casual confidence. Brightening, Kanai suggests a plan that sounds almost domestic. "Hey, how about the 3 of us grab something to eat together when everyone gets back home?" The conversation shifts as she asks about Kisuke's condition. "I heard he took a nasty fall down those park stairs last night and got himself hurt pretty badly." Chinatsu's explanation comes with affectionate exasperation. "Yeah, my big brother came stumbling home absolutely covered in scratches and bruises." Kanai's response carries amused sympathy. "He's always been so clumsy, hasn't he?" Meanwhile, in another part of the house, Geist's attention fixates on the television screen, broadcasting news coverage of Sakia's gang arrest from the previous night. The story has exploded across every major channel, complete media saturation by morning. What strikes Geist as remarkable is the speed of the reporting, detailed coverage appearing less than 24 hours after the actual arrests. Someone wanted this story out fast, but the charges themselves? Those strain credibility even for someone with Geist's experience. According to official reports, this gang of minors had been systematically involved in robbery, sexual assault, drug trafficking, and numerous other serious criminal enterprises. The scope seems almost impossibly broad for teenagers. The detail that truly set media outlets ablaze: Sakia's father holds the position of Deputy Commissioner General within the Tokyo Metropolitan Police, one of the highest-ranking law enforcement officials in the entire nation. Speculation runs rampant across news programs about potential involvement, with talking heads theorizing that this high-ranking political figure might have actively covered up his son's crimes for years. However, something about the narrative doesn't sit right with Geist. The pieces don't quite fit together. A flashback materializes, Geist informing Takeshi about his newly assigned opponent's C-rank status. Takeshi's surprise is genuine and immediate. A promotion match after only 2 fights? That's unprecedented. Confusion crosses Geist's features. What exactly do you mean by that? Takeshi's explanation unfolds the hierarchy systematically. Susanoo operates on a ranking system spanning S rank down to D rank. He continues laying out the structure. Every newcomer begins at the absolute bottom D rank classification. Promotion matches get scheduled based on accumulated battle records and viewer popularity metrics combined. The real revelation comes next, but here's what makes everyone so desperate to climb ranks. Even moving up just one level completely transforms your treatment and privileges. The difference is night and day. Then Takeshi drops the bombshell that makes Geist's blood run cold. C-rank fighters, they get their criminal activities overlooked by police. Complete immunity from prosecution. If this rumor holds even a grain of truth, the implications are staggering. Susanoo's management has infiltrated and corrupted state authority itself, embedding themselves at the highest levels of power. A sobering thought crystallizes. Could the people responsible for his murder wield this magnitude of influence? The news broadcast continues, delving into Sakiya's personal history. Apparently, he'd achieved third place at the National Kendo Championship during middle school and led his training center as top practitioner. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Despite third place being an objectively impressive achievement, his father, the deputy commissioner, publicly rebuked him for failing to secure first place. In their elite family's twisted value system, anything less than absolute victory constituted worthless failure. That moment marked the beginning of Sakiya's descent into violence and crime. Media psychologists speculate that severe educational abuse within this high-pressure elite family environment directly drove Sakiya towards such extreme criminal behavior. A sad, predictable trajectory. Chinatsu's voice suddenly breaks through his concentration. Why are you watching TV with such an intense, scary expression on your face? Geist forces playfulness into his tone, deflecting her concern. It's nothing, really. She shifts topics with barely contained excitement. Well, I've been calling you for ages. Manaka came by to pick you up for school. I'm so glad you two made up. When Kisuke emerges from the house, Manaka greets him warmly, and they begin their walk towards school together. Geist's concern manifests immediately. Are you truly okay after everything that happened? Her response carries genuine gratitude. I am, thanks to you saving me. She adds an important detail. Takeshi, the boxing club coach, was the one who drove me home safely afterward and made sure I got inside okay. Upon reaching the school grounds, Geist suddenly stops and executes a formal, deep bow of apology as Manaka continues forward. The unexpected gesture catches her completely off guard. Wait, what are you apologizing for? Sakiya and his gang were the ones who did everything wrong. Geist's explanation carries the weight of genuine remorse. I got you dragged into this entire dangerous situation because of my carelessness. He pauses before adding a harder truth. And honestly, quitting Susanoo might not be possible for me right now, even if I wanted to. Manaka's voice trembles slightly as she recalls the trauma. Last night was terrifying, not just because of what those monsters almost did to me, but watching you get beaten so brutally. Her deepest fear surfaces. I keep thinking that someday you might actually die if you continue participating in those underground streaming battles. That thought makes me sick with worry. But understanding dawns in her eyes, softening her expression. However, I can see how serious you are about this. It's the only viable way to save Chinatsu's life, so I won't try stopping you anymore. What comes next surprises him, but in exchange, please let me help somehow. Even though I can't do much of anything useful, I just want to support you, even if it's only in small ways. The offer genuinely stuns Geist, leaving him momentarily speechless. Manaka suddenly realizes they're running late and takes off sprinting toward their classroom building. While rushing through the hallways, an observation nags at her consciousness. Kisuke possesses the same face, identical voice, and similar manner of speaking as always, yet something fundamental feels different about him lately. Her mind conjures the image of how he protected her with such fierce determination the previous night. A disturbing question whispers through her thoughts, is he really Kisuke anymore? Meanwhile, across the city, Kanai approaches a residential door and calls out professionally, "Excuse me, Tokura-san, I'm from Weekly Raime newspaper." She continues through the closed door. "I came by yesterday hoping to speak with you. Would you please talk to me today?" Silence greets her request. When no response comes, she makes a decision. "In that case, I'll just explain everything through the door." Her words take on investigative weight. "According to my research, you once belonged to the Special Forces unit operating under the Ministry of Defense. You participated in the embassy staff rescue operation 8 years ago." She adds a detail that underscores the operation's unusual nature. What makes this particularly surprising is that Japanese Special Forces were deployed to resolve a terrorist incident on foreign soil. But here's where the story becomes truly extraordinary. However, the person who actually resolved that crisis wasn't anyone from the Special Forces or local military personnel. Her voice drops slightly. Instead, it sounds like an almost mythical tale about someone called Geist. From behind the door, Tokura's voice finally emerges with a sharp question. What exactly are you planning to do with information about Geist? Moments later, the door opens. Inside, Tokura regards her with grudging respect. You're quite impressive. Must be an exceptionally skilled journalist to dig up information about Murakumo, considering that unit doesn't officially exist in any records. Kanai wastes no time. Was Murakumo a Special Forces unit specially established by the Ministry of Defense for clandestine operations? Tokura's answer carries bitter nostalgia. The name was borrowed from the divine sword said to protect our nation in ancient mythology, but cynicism colors his next words. However, we were neither divine nor even as useful as a worthless, dull blade gathering rust. He references a specific failure. Take the Dornija incident. We couldn't accomplish anything there because of so-called high-level political considerations that tied our hands completely. Kanai demonstrates her thorough research. Was it because of the power struggle over mining rights? She continues building the picture. The rare earth element deposits lying beneath Dornijan territory became the center of intense political maneuvering between multiple nations. Okura's expression shows he's genuinely impressed by her investigative depth. He begins painting the full historical context. 8 years ago, in the Republic of Dornija, the explanation unfolds systematically. Dornija's rare earth deposits had only recently been discovered. Since they lacked the necessary extraction technology for independent mining operations, a silent international standoff developed between major powers competing for those valuable mining rights. Through the communication device in the flashback, Lieutenant Tokura receives sharp rebuke from command. Watch your mouth, Lieutenant. The decisions made by higher authorities are absolute and not subject to debate. The bitter truth becomes clear. Other major powers seeking those mining rights didn't want Japan gaining favorable positioning by resolving the terrorist incident and earning diplomatic credit. Their political concerns outweighed hostage lives. As a result, Tokura's entire unit was forced into agonizing inaction while hostages suffered just meters away within potential rescue range. Orders were orders. Suddenly, one of Tokura's subordinates interrupts with urgent news. Sir, we've re-established communication with the embassy. The report that follows defies all expectations. All terrorists have been neutralized. Every single hostage is confirmed safe and unharmed. Shock reverberates through Tokura and his assembled team. The confusion runs deep. Nobody had received intelligence about another unit launching an assault operation. Then, impossibly, a figure materializes on the embassy building's rooftop. The presence seems almost spectral, appearing like a ghost given physical form. Okura's description captures the essence perfectly. He possessed eyes as cold and emotionless as Arctic ice. Quiet, controlled killing intent wrapped around his entire body like an invisible cloak. His presence was so minimal you could barely detect him even while looking directly at him. Before Tokura could fully process what he was seeing, the man began fading away like morning mist, visible for only the briefest window of time. Back in the present, Kanai can barely contain her excitement. So Geist really existed. He's not just an urban legend. Her enthusiasm pours forth. I'm so grateful for this interview. You're the first person to ever provide direct eyewitness testimony about seeing Geist with your own eyes. But Tokura's expression hardens abruptly. Stop, right now. His tone shifts to something darker, more protective. I didn't let you into my apartment to discuss Geist. I let you in to warn you away from this path. Confusion clouds. Kanai's features. Tokura's warning carries the weight of lived experience. I was once a member of the Ministry of Defense's Special Forces, an elite background that should have guaranteed a successful future. His voice grows heavy with regret. But look at me now. You'll end up the same way. A miserable, unemployed, middle-aged person if you don't turn back from this investigation immediately. The specifics paint a bleak picture. I barely survive month to month in this grimy, cheap apartment, living off dwindling severance pay that won't last forever. Then comes the crucial revelation. And I ended up in this situation because of that guy, because I got involved with Geist. His plea becomes more urgent. You'll meet the exact same fate if you continue trying to get involved with him. Please, for your own sake and for your family's sake, abandon this investigation. As he turns to walk away, Kanai's voice stops him. I acknowledge that certain things in this world are untouchable, dangerous territory that journalists shouldn't enter, but her resolve rings clear as steel. However, I cannot stop this investigation until I've uncovered the complete truth. The reason emerges with devastating emotional weight, because the person who took my sister's life, who murdered her, might have been Geist. The revelation hits Tokura like a physical blow, rendering him completely speechless. His mouth opens, but no words emerge as the implications sink in. Sometime later, in a completely different location, two men in lab coats discuss frustrating results. The progress on our experimental trials hasn't met expectations at all. The compatibility rate with the new pharmaceutical compound varies wildly between different test subjects. No consistency whatsoever. One researcher suggests an aggressive approach. We should push upper management to significantly increase the number of specimens available for testing. His colleague voices another concern that's been gnawing at them. More importantly, why haven't we been able to identify the origin point yet? While they converse, a cleaning woman operates a vacuum nearby. One researcher's irritation boils over. Hey, could you please quiet down and do your cleaning work farther away from here? The cleaning woman bows apologetically and quickly retreats to a more distant area. The second researcher shoots his colleague a meaningful look. This isn't the kind of conversation we should be having with outsiders lingering around within earshot. They move decisively toward a secure section of the research facility to continue their discussion in complete privacy. But the cleaning woman simply continues her methodical work, appearing entirely focused on her mundane duties. Meanwhile, from an external vantage point, Geist observes her movements through a high-powered scope. Izanami Pharmaceuticals represents a company experiencing explosive growth in recent years. Geist's presence here isn't coincidental. It stems from discoveries made earlier. 5 hours ago, he met with Takeshi to trace the origin points of where their fight prize money had been deposited from. The common thread connecting every payment? This building, Izanami Pharmaceuticals. In the present moment, Geist prepares his infiltration equipment with practiced efficiency. He takes aim and fires a grappling hook that arcs through darkness toward the building's upper levels, the line going taut as he prepares to swing across the gap. If information about the man who killed Geist exists anywhere, searching this building thoroughly might finally provide the answers he's been desperately seeking. Tonight, the hunt continues. Her fingers dance across the keyboard, each keystroke bringing her closer, until finally, success. The blueprint of the military facility materializes on her screen, their next target laid bare in digital clarity. The memory flickers back 7 years. She swivels toward Geist, a knowing smile playing on her lips as he observes, sharp as ever. The words carry weight, familiarity. Amane, he calls her, the name almost reverent. She laughs, tilting her head playfully. Don't be stingy with the compliments, she teases, then adds with a meaningful pause. Besides, with my special hacking tool, Uzume, he could handle this solo. The implication hangs between them, he doesn't need her anymore. But Amane's expression shifts, something deeper flickering in her eyes. Losing my best customer would hurt more than any failed job, she admits quietly. Use the tool, raise your survival rate, even if just by a fraction. The unspoken plea resonates. Stay alive. Geist's gratitude comes simple and sincere. She nods, then her voice drops lower. Beyond that, her hand reaches out, fingers grazing his with unexpected tenderness. It's really no big deal for someone like you. But the moment Geist tenses, discomfort radiating from him, another hand lands firmly atop Amane's head, interrupting the charged atmosphere. What follows is a playful yet spirited argument. Is she still a little girl or not? The question carries years of history neither will fully explain. Amane remains an enigma, an informant of uncertain nationality and age, yet possessing an extraordinary gift for processing information that few in the underworld can match. Armed with the Uzume tool, Geist discovers an anomaly power consumption on the top floor far exceeds every other level. The discrepancy screams secrets. When he breaches the restricted area, rows of capsules greet him in eerie silence. Then his breath catches. There, stamped on one of the capsule pins, that mysterious logo, the same mark worn by his killer. His pulse quickens. Movement explodes from the shadows. Someone rockets past, blade gleaming as it slices toward his throat. Instinct saves him. He launches himself backward, narrowly evading the lethal strike. Landing in a crouch, Geist's mind races. How did he fail to sense the attacker's presence? Even his heightened awareness detected nothing until the last second. The knife work is flawless, economical, a professional's precision. His opponent is no amateur. The attacker surges forward again, blade whistling through air with murderous intent. Something nags at Geist. The movements feel strangely familiar, hauntingly so. But there's no time to process as the enemy closes the distance with frightening speed. The blade arcs toward his vital points. Brilliant light erupts. Someone drops a stun grenade into the chaos. Before his vision clears, hands grip his wrist. The cleaner yanks him with surprising strength, pulling him from the kill zone. She throws him bodily toward a garbage disposal hatch, giving him no choice. They plummet together into a nearby garbage container, landing with a muffled crash among refuse. Idiot! The woman hisses venomously. I had to waste my precious escape route because of you. Her frustration pours out unchecked. 3 months of careful infiltration into Izanami, all for nothing now. The bitterness in her voice cuts deep. A recognition sparks in Geist's mind. He utters her name softly. Amane freezes, genuine shock washing over her features. Minutes later, they're speeding through city streets in her car, tension thick between them. There's no way, she declares flatly, that some scrawny idiot like you is Geist. He grips the wheel tighter. My Geist was better looking, sexier, cooler in every way. The words carry an edge of desperate denial. While she searches for a suitable place to dump this stranger, he speaks a specific sequence, a code only one person should know. Her hands falter on the steering wheel, confusion ripples across her face. The password you gave me, he explains calmly. I used it to download the hacking tool. A pause, then dryly, your Uzume proved invaluable, even if the silly password made me roll my eyes. The casual dismissal of her security measure. Something only the real Geist would say. Amane stares at him, utterly dumbfounded. Could it be? First love, she demands, voice sharp. Tell me the name. He does, without hesitation. Still not enough. The song I played at my own funeral, what was it? Her voice cracks slightly. Before he can answer, she fires another question. The last digits of the password, what do they mean? His response makes her scream. Modest perhaps, but undeniably genuine. The steering wheel jerks wildly as emotion overwhelms control, the car swerving dangerously. In their shadow world, terrorism and military conflict rage as global constants. But even ghosts need anchors. Information brokers like Amane, gunsmiths, suppliers, these select few form the only people permitted to know a ghost's true identity, a sacred circle of trust. Later, inside a dimly lit subway station, Geist asks after Yuan. Amane's answer comes heavy. The old gunsmith's dead. Olivia Blitz? Stephen Licht? More names from his past. Dead. The CIA operative and her 2 subordinates all gone. The realization hits like physical blows. 5 years. Most of his helpers erased in just 5 years after his assassination. Mane's voice turns hollow. Almost everyone tied to you vanished. The pattern becomes clear to Geist. They eliminated him, then systematically hunted down everyone connected to his network or forced them to join his killer's organization. How are you still breathing? He asks pointedly. She smirks without humor. I'm not easy to kill. Then she adds something that shifts the weight in his chest. One more person linked to you survived. Tokura, the Japanese curry girl, remember? Hot-blooded, straightforward. You had a soft spot for her. Amani's expression darkens. After you died, they claim she embezzled funds. Got her fired. Meanwhile, across the city, Kanai steps out of Tokura's modest house, unaware of being discussed. In the subway depths, Amani continues, voice firm with conviction. No way Tokura stole anything. Too honest for her own good. She was framed, had to be. Finally, Amani guides them to the hideout, a place that exists off every grid. She collapses dramatically onto a bed, exhaling relief. Finally found it after running forever. Her gaze finds him in the dim light. There's only one person whose safety Geist truly cares about above all others. Don't you dare apologize, she warned sharply. Not for me, not for our dead friends. I'll be pissed if you do. The question he's been holding back finally escapes. Mina? Amane's answer comes measured. Missing. If she were dead, my database would have flagged it. Confidence returns to her voice. Mina's alive. No question. Your only apprentice. There's no way she'd die easily. She tosses him a soft drink with deliberate emphasis. Minors don't drink booze, she remarks pointedly, then asks the question burning in her mind. How the hell are you a high schooler again after 5 years? Geist deflects smoothly, changing topics. Did you pick up anything inside Izanami? Her pride takes a visible hit. Their system's rock solid, couldn't hack it. Coming from someone of Amane's skill level, that admission speaks volumes. Shattered my pride completely, she admits through gritted teeth. Spent 3 months as a cleaning lady, gathered nothing concrete. The frustration in her voice is palpable, months wasted. She trails off mid-sentence, then catches herself. The only way forward is to climb the ranks inside Susano, become champion. The path forward crystallizes with terrifying clarity. Meanwhile, in a surveillance room, Geist's killer replays footage from the confrontation between his guard and the intruder. The fighting skills on display clearly impress him. Who is this? He muses aloud, fascinated. How did someone breach all the way to the top floor without triggering security or alerting my guard? The questions multiply. He addresses his guard revealed to be female with cool instruction, treat him well next time. Something about the intruder's combat style tugs at his memory. The movements mirror someone he once knew. The similarity unnerves him. His fingers press into the screen until it cracks and shatters under pressure, a casual display of inhuman strength. Time to begin an investigation, he declares into the darkness. Days pass. Life continues its facade of normalcy. Manaka guides Shinatsu through mathematical concepts, and the younger girl grasps them with surprising ease. You're such a good teacher, Chinatsu beams. My brother's explanations never make this much sense. Her smile falters slightly. He's been really busy lately, so he doesn't have as much time to help me with homework anymore. Worry creeps into her young voice. I think my big brother has changed somehow, just a little. Guilt shadows her features. Is it my fault? Is he pushing himself too hard because of me? I feel like he's going somewhere far away. The fear in those words cuts deeper than she realizes. Manaka sits frozen, unable to offer empty reassurances. Because Chinatsu's instincts are frighteningly accurate. She knows the truth Chinatsu senses but cannot name. Kisuke fights for his sister. He's changing because he's forcing himself into battles no teenager should face. Manaka reaches out, clasping Chinatsu's small hands firmly between her own. It's okay, she says with quiet conviction. Kisuke is your brother. He's not going anywhere. I won't let him go anywhere, Manaka promises, determination hardening in her voice. She'll become Kisuke's support, his anchor to who he used to be. Even knowing herself to be weak and unreliable, she refuses to lose the kind person Kisuke was. That version of him is worth fighting for. Chinatsu's next question arrives with startling directness. Do you love my brother? Manaka's hands fly apart as her face flushes crimson. What are you talking about? She stammers, completely flustered. Chinatsu mimics her words perfectly. I won't let Kisuke leave my side. That's love, isn't it? Manaka protests that she never said exactly that. I completely approve, Chinatsu declares with the authority of a younger sister. Tell him next time, not me. Manaka begs her to stop teasing. Then, unexpectedly, Chinatsu's expression softens. Thank you, Manaka-san. The genuine gratitude catches Manaka off guard. The door opens. Geist arrives home. Chinatsu rushes to greet him at the entrance. Her eyes widen at the sight. He's carrying Kanai's unconscious form in his arms. Found her passed out drunk in the elevator hall, he explains with resignation. He deposits her carefully into a chair. Interview must not have gone well today. Kanai begins mumbling through her intoxication, rambling about some fool who just mopes around forever. She rants about a narcissistic pretty boy who claims he won't get involved with anyone anymore. Then she tries warning Kisuke not to become a loser always hung up on the past like that person. Geist can't decipher who she's referencing, so he focuses on removing her shoes. The incoherent warnings continue as he works. Suddenly, Kanai's face turns green. Nausea hits. Chinatsu reacts instantly, guiding the woman toward the bathroom before disaster strikes. In the relative quiet that follows, Geist notices Manaka standing nearby. Surprise flickers across his features. "Thanks for watching Chinatsu while I was out," he offers gratefully. "It was fun," Manaka assures him. Then, reading his expression, "Is something wrong?" Geist doesn't answer directly, his thoughts clearly elsewhere. "There's someone I want you to meet tomorrow," he says finally, the statement carrying weight. The next day arrives. Manaka finds herself face to face with Amane, who introduces herself under the alias Nene Amatsuka, supposedly Kisuke's manager. Confusion must show on Manaka's face because Keshi steps in to explain when a Susanoo fighter reaches C-class, their earnings multiply exponentially. C-ranked fighters gain the privilege of forming teams of contractors, clans they call them. Geist turns to Takeshi with respectful formality. "Will you join my clan?" The question hangs between them. Takeshi's response comes without hesitation. "Already joined in my mind." The trio begins celebrating this new alliance. Manaka interrupts, voice sharp. "Who exactly is Amane-san?" Geist hesitates. "It's kind of a long story." Before he can elaborate, Amane embraces his arm intimately. "We're tied together by common fate," she purrs. Manaka's shock is visible. "Kisuke, what's going on?" Manaka demands, but his phone chimes with a notification, cutting off any explanation. He checks the screen, and everything else fades. His next opponent has been decided. Meanwhile, in the back room of a sumo wrestling center across town, 3 large men attempt to push one opponent backward. He doesn't budge even slightly. Their confusion is evident. Does Raishindo have roots growing from his feet? How else could someone remain so immovable? Raishindo's manager enters with news. His next opponent has been determined. He learns his match is against a highly anticipated super rookie, someone promoted to C rank in record time. The name generates buzz. Excitement ignites in Raishindo's eyes. With explosive force, he hurls all 3 hefty training partners backward simultaneously. "I hope this opponent provides more challenge than these guys," he tells his manager, anticipation clear in his tone. Later, the newly formed clan gathers at the boxing club room inside the old school building. The structure is scheduled for demolition next year, perfect for their purposes. Eshi suggests making it their clan's official meeting place. The location offers privacy and symbolism. He notices the others aren't listening. They appear caught in resolving some kind of love triangle. He sighs. After receiving a full explanation, Manaka tries to confirm her understanding. Amane truly is just a friend of Kisuke's late father, exactly as told. Skepticism lingers in Manaka's expression. The explanation feels incomplete. Geist elaborates patiently. "Amane worked at a company that did business with my father. I met her occasionally when visiting his workplace years ago. She's extremely capable," he adds, but enjoys joking around. Amane interjects with an apology for her behavior, attempting to diffuse Manaka's concerns by declaring, "I'm actually into older men." Relief floods Manaka's features as she confirms, "So you two aren't in a relationship?" Amane observes how visibly relieved the girl becomes, so innocent, so fun to tease. Just like the old days. But then Manaka makes an observation aloud. "Well, it makes sense. Amane-san looks about twice our age." The comment strikes like a dagger. Amane spins around, face full of indignation. Geist quickly tells Manaka to drop it, but the girl seems genuinely confused about what she said wrong. Takeshi interrupts before the situation escalates. They begin cleaning the dusty boxing club room together, working in companionable silence. While working, Amane murmurs quietly to Geist, "We'll start making mistakes in our cover story if we add too much detail." The night before, they discuss their strategy moving forward. In Geist's memory, he tells Amane his plan, become Susanoo's champion. Then he asks if she knows what happens when someone reaches that position. Amane's answer comes carefully measured. Management grants the champion any wish, according to street rumors at least. She explains the mythological connection. In Japanese legend, Izanami and Suzanami and child deities. "I've obtained information confirming both companies are connected," she reveals. Drawing from her infiltration experience at Izanami, she believes credibility exists in their ability to grant wishes. Their organizational power runs that deep. Geist agrees. If they control police and government, it's possible. Later, Amane outlined their approach. Conventional hacking won't breach their systems. "So we'll make the organization come to us instead. It won't be easy," Geist cautions. Amane's expression turns grim. No fighter has ever become Susanoo's champion. The challenge ahead looms insurmountable yet unavoidable. She leans forward, voice steady with confidence. "Have we ever failed a mission together?" The challenge in those words carries years of proven success. Yet in the present moment, Amane admits with reluctant honesty, this next fight is going to be a problem. The contradiction hangs heavy. They've never failed before, but this feels different. Raishindo's physical specifications exceed expectations. An active sumo wrestler and not just any rank, a Makuuchi competitor. The revelation shifts everything. Manaka's confusion shows immediately. "What's Makuuchi?" Takeshi provides context, his tone grave. "About 600 wrestlers compete in sumo. Only the top 42 make it to the highest division. That's Makuuchi, essentially a professional among professionals." The statistics paint an even grimmer picture. Raishindo stands 190 centimeters tall, weighs 200 kilograms, a super heavyweight even among Makuuchi wrestlers. The physical disparity between him and Keisuke seems insurmountable, borderline hopeless. From C rank onward, you have the right to refuse matches, Takeshi explains carefully. It costs points, risks demotion, but this opponent is too much. Takeshi continues, his advice firm. Refuse the match. I know it's frustrating, but Geist interrupts by pointing at footage of Raishindo, specifically at the ceremonial cloth wrapped around the wrestler's waist. Kesho Mawashi, he identifies quietly. Surprise ripples through the group at his recognition. I'll take the match, Geist declares. Takeshi's shock is immediate and visceral. Meanwhile, across town, Kanai relaxes at home watching a sumo match on television. Geist enters the apartment, genuine surprise crossing his features. You're home early. Kanai greets him warmly, explaining she took a paid day off. I was hoping we could all go out for dinner tonight. The suggestion carries tentative hope. Can't move right now though, she admits with a self-deprecating laugh. Had a bit too much to drink. Geist tells her gently not to push herself. Did Chanatsu go shopping? He asks. Kanai nods, explaining she went to buy headache medicine. Internally, Kanai chastises herself, needs to get her act together. But first, she promises herself she'll find the truth, for Keisuke and Chanatsu's sake as much as her own. Later, Geist asks if she's a sumo fan. I am, Kanai confirms. Watch the Makuuchi and Juryo matches every day. Interested in sumo? She inquires. His affirmation comes simply, I am. 2 days later, the commentator's voice booms across the arena. Welcome to this edition of Susanoo Battle, a match featuring a rarely seen size difference. Excitement crackles in his announcement. A battle between giant and, well, let's say significant underdog. Can Keisuke defeat the towering Raishindo? The question hangs over the crowd. Meanwhile, Raishindo surveys his opponent with dismissive contempt. Just a skinny kid? This so-called rising rookie? He plans to snap that scrawny body in two. The match will begin shortly, the commentator announces to mounting anticipation. Raishindo doesn't wait. He charges explosively, slamming into Geist and lifting him completely off the ground. Regret challenging the great Raishindo in your next life, he roars, carrying the smaller fighter like a rag doll. Complete shock registers on Geist's face. Then he crashes into the ground with brutal force. The commentator conveniently ignores that the match hadn't officially started yet. Instead, he launches into enthusiastic commentary about the sheer power behind Raishindo's throw. Through his earpiece, Raishindo's sponsor demands he give viewers a better show for increased view counts. It's not over yet, Raishindo responds, voice cold with certainty. No impact, he observes with professional assessment. The little punk dodged my charge. Moments later, Geist rises to his feet, shaking off the attack. Through the communication line, Takeshi admits with visible relief he worried that might be the end. He analyzes aloud. You jump back at the moment of impact, canceled out most of the charge's force. Geist confirms he's slightly dizzy but still combat ready. Even Raishindo acknowledges surprise that a novice managed to dodge effectively. The sumo wrestler charges again with devastating intent. This time, Geist evades completely, movements fluid and precise. When Raishindo spins back to locate him, Geist's kick connects cleanly across the wrestler's face. But shock floods through Geist when Raishindo doesn't even flinch. Merely jokes that a bug seems to have landed on his cheek. The attack left him completely unscathed, not even a mark. Back in the arena, Raishindo charges again. Geist runs clear, mind racing, blows to the head won't work on this wrestler. The realization narrows his options dramatically. The force behind a Makuuchi wrestler's charge measures approximately 1 ton. Raishindo misses Geist during his charge, instead slams into a nearby truck, completely destroying that side of the vehicle. Metal crumples like paper. Makuuchi wrestlers absorb charges like these to the head for 15 days straight during every tournament, the equivalent of surviving a car accident daily. Takeshi reflects on Keisuke's greatest strength, reading opponents' movements, using their momentum against them for devastating counters. But the physical difference renders that advantage almost meaningless here. Raishindo lunges to grab Geist. He dodges by the narrowest margin imaginable. The wrestler is remarkably fast for his massive size. One solid hit could end everything. That knowledge sharpens Geist's every movement. To his shock, Raishindo successfully locks arms with him, no escape. 4 different techniques, Raishindo announces casually before executing a throw that sends Geist hurtling face first toward the ground. Takeshi's voice cuts through the communication channel urgently. Don't resist, just let yourself be thrown. The instruction seems counterintuitive, but Geist trusts completely. He allows himself to fall. Mid-descent, he executes a perfect somersault, using the momentum to slip his arm free from Raishindo's grip. Creating immediate distance, Geist hears Takeshi's concerned inquiry through the earpiece. I'm okay, wasn't slammed into the ground thanks to you, Geist confirms. Hurt the left side of my chest, he admits quietly, but that's a small price compared to the alternative. Raishindo materializes in front of him, curiosity replacing contempt. Who are you exactly? Eat more chanko, bulk up properly, he suggests with unexpected camaraderie. I'll make you my personal attendant if you do. Raishindo recalls his manager's instructions. Liven up the match, make it entertaining. I'll give you a handicap, he offers magnanimously, a reward for lasting this long against me. He raises both massive arms overhead, leaving himself completely exposed. Come at me with any attack you have. When Geist hesitates, uncertainty flickering across his features, Rashindo taunts, "Are you scared of an opponent who won't attack back?" Takeshi's strategic mind engages immediately. This is your chance. Even a wrestler can't emerge unscathed from a strike to a vital point. Takeshi observes Rashindo opening every vital point along his center-line throat, solar plexus, liver. This carelessness will prove his undoing, Takeshi believes. He's underestimating Kisuke catastrophically. "Are you sure you want me to hit you?" Geist asks, seeking final confirmation. "Knock yourself out," Rashindo invites with absolute confidence. Geist explodes forward, closing distance in a heartbeat, but as he launches upward to strike, Rashindo's expression shifts to predatory amusement. Just kidding. His massive hand shoots out to catch Geist mid-strike. Not stupid enough to actually take your attack. Geist realizes with sinking certainty he's completely caught. No escape this time.